If the USA lost its power grid, the immediate impact would be catastrophic, plunging the nation into darkness and disrupting virtually every aspect of daily life. Hospitals and emergency services would be severely strained with life-saving equipment rendered inoperable. Transportation networks, including traffic lights, rail systems, and airports, would grind to a halt, causing widespread chaos. Communications would be crippled, affecting phone lines, internet, and access to broadcasting services, making it difficult to coordinate emergency responses and disseminate information. Businesses would suffer enormous financial losses due to halted operations and spoiled perishable goods. The lack of refrigeration and water purification would lead to public health crisis, while social unrest and crime rates would spike as people scramble for resources. Overall, the loss of the power grid would have profound and far-reaching effects on the nation's infrastructure, economy, and social stability.
Currently in present day, there are plenty of companies who offer off-grid power solutions. But who really is up to the task? Can I build a power system that not only provides my family essentials, but in the process gives me the added benefit of upgrading my mobility prep? Well, let's find out.
First, I need to be able to store power. I reached out to a company in Reno, Nevada named Battleborn Batteries. They are leaders in the space and develop batteries specifically for this type of application. You can access their website and use their battery bank calculator to get an idea of what your specific needs might be. I want to have the capability of normal RV amenities, but also be able to charge a fleet of e-bikes out in the field. Battleborn Batteries was more than happy to get involved and provided me with everything you're going to see here today.
Today we are going to be installing 4 100 amp hour lithium ion batteries from Battleborn. Each battery is about 35.5 pounds. And the bank that I am going with should support a variety of things in my Gladiator.
Since this is the first time I'll be taking on a task like this, I'll also be learning as I go along. First, I need to make battery cables. I'm wiring the battery bank in parallel and using 4/0 gauge wire cable. That means I need 3 negative cables and 3 positive cables, all 7 inches in length. I'm stripping cables back about 7/8 of an inch and then crimping on the 4/0 by 5/16 cable ends. Finally, I use heat shrink to complete the cables. Next, I've wired positive to positive and negative to negative. I have to demonstrate this on the table due to the limited space I have located on the truck. Make sure that the 5/16 bolts are torqued to about 11 foot-pounds. Next, I'm making a main board panel. I'm not 100% sure I want the main board components in the location that I've chosen. With this, I can live with it for a while and then go back and change it. Here I have my fused 400 amp main switch for the positive side of my battery bank. And on the negative side, I have a Victron Energy BMB17 smart battery monitor. This panel will effectively allow me to toggle the power on and off and distribute power where I need it. I have added 3 60 amp circuit breakers and made connections using 6 gauge wire. You can see them at the top right of the panel. This will give me the option of isolating a 12 volt fuse block, a Victron solar charger, and a Victron DC to DC charger. I'll explain more about these later on in the video. On a separate fuse line, I'll be installing a Victron 3000 multi-plus inverter. This will give me AC power, which you're used to having in your homes. Now it's time to install the panel and battery bank in the camper.
All right, here is the piece of angled aluminum. I measured it out to about 20 inches and it'll go straight to the floor, eliminate the side-to-side movement of the batteries in the truck, but also I will strap the top 4 batteries so it doesn't have any vertical movement. Let's get this in the truck.
I am using the Goose Gear camper system in the bed of my truck, and the front passenger side module is the perfect size for my battery bank. Since I won't be using these factory bed anchors anymore, they will make a perfect location for my chassis ground. I used 4/0 wire for my cable and connected it straight to the panel's negative side. Next, all the positive and negative connections are made. Then the battery bank is secured. Now to connect the battery bank to the panel, make sure your master switch is off. It's also imperative that your cables are the same length and that you connect them from the opposite ends of the bank. Here my positive is connected to the furthest battery from me, and the negative is connected to the closest battery to me. Now it's time to test it. Master switch on, and we are good. At the bottom right of your screen, I mounted one of 2 GFCI outlets. The inverter is wired with a 4/0 gauge wire to the main panel with a 400 amp fuse. Now my base camp has residential power. Now I can reinstall the Goose Gear kitchen module and also install my gauge.
Now that my foundation of Battleborn batteries is set up with my battery bank, I have 3 different ways of recharging or maintaining the power in that bank. The first one's very easy. It's shore power. I can just plug it in at home, in the garage, maybe at a campsite if I'm doing that. I guess you could use a generator if you need to, but with the other 2 systems, I'm not planning on needing a generator in order to use shore power. The next system is solar charging. I have a blanket that I can deploy on the floor. As long as it has sunlight, it'll trickle back into the battery bank, topping it off, or even just keeping it at a consistent rate with solar charging. The other one that has also helped me out, and this is the third and final, is alternator charging. As I'm driving from campsite to campsite, sometimes like this trip, it took me 5 hours to get here. In no time, it recharged that battery bank, causing it to top it off. I think I was somewhere around 80% when we left, and then as I got here after 5 hours, it recharged the whole battery bank and equalized it out. Those are the 3 ways that I'm recharging the bank. Next, I need to send power out from the battery bank. So the way that I wired it, I have it distributed in many different ways. So first, let's talk about 12 volt.
I have 12 volt outlets in the top and the bottom of the camper. They run a 12 volt blanket, recharge phones, recharge computers, and they also run my 55-liter fridge. Next, all of my lights are wired and I can recharge handhelds or headlamps. I can run a diesel heater because they do need a little bit of power, and my radio for communications, as well as my WeBoost signal booster. I also have an ARB twin air compressor, and next we're gonna get into AC power.
AC power on my camper also powers a lot of my communication devices. Starlink has a huge power draw and cannot be done, in my opinion, effectively on DC. They do have it, but I've noticed in the past that it kind of cuts out and has to reboot. If you run AC power, it will consistently work because that is the more efficient way to run a Starlink. AC power on my camper powers things like a coffee maker, a chainsaw, but it really just gives you options. Think about all the things that you typically use. With AC, I can also recharge an e-bike and potentially a fleet of e-bikes. And as you saw in the beginning, that was one of the main reasons why I went this direction. If I can use my truck as, let's say, like a home base or a lifeboat and attach maybe a couple of e-bikes, man, the potential for that is actually really cool. Not only for hunting, recreation, but for, like I said, a base camp setup. AC power can do that. And I've been able to recharge my little boy's e-bike indefinitely on the last several trips we've taken. So as I build that out and add more e-bikes to the fleet, we're gonna see how long I can go as a base camp. Now you can also set up an air conditioner. I do have an AC unit that does support the tent, and it's good for a small space. It does have its own 12 volt DC battery, but I can replenish those batteries with my current AC system. In conclusion, my camper is set up in a way that it is sustainable and renewable, and I get to give myself not only some added comfort, but it's a lifeboat in the event of an emergency. Now, granted, there is added value in recreation, but the best part about recreation is it's a testing bed for things in survival. Guys, I hope you like this video. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, share it. It really helps us out. My name is Mike Hernandez. I'm the Mobility and Motorsports Director here at Fieldcraft Survival. I'll catch you on the next one.